everyone, this is John Gerardi with Right to Life of Central California, bringing you another in our daily 40 videos for 40 Days for Life series. 40 Days for Life is the international campaign of prayer and presence outside abortion clinics throughout the country and throughout the world. If you want to learn more about our 40 Days for Life campaign here in Fresno, get in touch with us at 559-229-2229. Today, I want to continue with this theme of FAQs, frequently asked questions that I get as the Right to Life director about the topic of abortion and why things are the way they are. One point that people ask me about often is the phenomenon of fetal homicide laws. In a number of states, including California, someone who is charged with a violent crime against a woman that results in the unborn child's death can be charged with a homicide count for that child's death. The most prominent example of this was the 2002 murder of Lacey and her unborn child, Connor Peterson, by her husband, Scott Peterson. Scott Peterson was convicted of 2 counts of murder and was sentenced to death, a sentence that I believe has been, the death sentence has been overturned, but I believe Connor Peterson is serving life imprisonment. People ask me all the time, how is it that California can recognize the life of the unborn child? All these states can recognize the life of the unborn child in our murder laws, in our homicide laws. And in fact, Lacey and Connor's murder prompted the United States Congress to pass Lacey and Connor's law to basically include this ability to prosecute someone for a double murder when they kill a pregnant woman. That became enshrined in federal criminal law also. People ask me all the time, well, how can that be so that California recognizes the life of the unborn in a murder prosecution, but it isn't so in any other context? We don't recognize the life of the unborn child in other contexts, in our abortion law, etc. Now, the best answer I could give, and I think the most, in some ways the most correct answer I can give, is simply that California law is confused and hypocritical and blatantly contradictory on this point. We don't live in a regime that is governed by reason. We live in a regime that's governed by voters and by bad Supreme Court decisions. So, yes, it's true. It is hypocritical. It makes no sense. It isn't fair. But we basically have allowed this hypocrisy, this blatantly opposing viewpoints to exist, where our criminal law says that the unborn child is a human being worthy of life and dignity and protection under law in the form of criminal prosecution for those who would harm the unborn child in any context except for abortion. It doesn't make a ton of sense until you start to think about what is the sort of overriding philosophical basis that a lot of particularly medical practitioners have for when the unborn child is viewed as a person worthy of care. You can see this in the context of medical ethics, where the predominant viewpoint in medical ethics about when the unborn child is a patient is simply, does the mom want to keep the child or not? If the mom wants to keep the child, then you treat the unborn child as a patient. If the mom doesn't want to keep the unborn child, then you don't. You can also see shades of this in the portions of the Planned Parenthood versus Casey decision, the Supreme Court decision in 1992 that upheld Roe v. Wade. Those portions of the decision written by Justice Kennedy, who basically had this notion that part of freedom was the ability for everyone to make up their own mind about these critical central questions of human life and existence, including the question of when human life begins in the womb. Now, this is a crazy notion on Justice Kennedy's part. I can't make the determination to say that we have the right to decide when other people's lives begin and begin to have value and should begin to have protection under law. If that's the case, if you take that to its logical conclusion, I'm not sure what there is to stop me from determining that my producer Raphael's life has not yet begun to have value and why I shouldn't run him over in the parking lot with my car. There's no limiting principle if you say it's part of my freedom to decide when other people's lives begin. So fundamentally, we have a certain philosophical mindset that says human life in the womb begins to have value when the mom decides it has value. And that's part of her freedom of choice, which is, I think, a crazy and ill-reasoned and illogical notion of when human life has value. So that's unfortunately the best answer I can give to this question of why does California prosecute for double murder someone who kills a pregnant woman, but does not protect the unborn child in any other circumstance. Frankly, it's illogical. It's premised in an illogical and foolish anthropology, a foolish viewpoint of human nature. So that's the unfortunate reality, is that there is no great answer. California law is simply contradictory and confused. With that, I'm John Gerardi for Right to Life of Central California.